yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie 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 lie, yada lie 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 lie, yada lie 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 lie, yada lie lie lie, yada lie 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 lie, yada lie 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 lie, yada lie 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 lie, yada lie lie lie. Hashamayim v'tagel haaretz yiram hayam umelos yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz yiram hayam. Mehu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz yiram hayam umelos yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz yiram hayam umelos. Yamamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai mai mamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai mai 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 mai. Yamamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai mai mamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai, yamamai mai mamai mai 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 mai. I am getting a little verklempt up here right now because, well, 16 months ago, thereabouts, on March 13th, we had our last in-person Friday night service, thinking at that point in time that the pandemic would pass shortly and we'd just ask people to socially distance in the sanctuary. And then it became abundantly clear by the end of that Friday night service that the following Shabbat, we were going to have to do something different. And we immediately went all remote. And that Friday night, it was actually pre-recorded the following Friday with all the clergy from their own homes because we had no idea how to Zoom a service live to Facebook or YouTube or any of that stuff. And we had to figure it out. And every week we just kind of improved on it bit by bit. But all of a sudden we went from in person to just complete dead stop. And it feels like just the same on the other bookend where we are stopping this. This will be our last Zoom online service. We will be having online services and we will be streaming it. And we're investing in new technology that will allow us to zoom in and zoom out and do all those things, but without, well, let me show you. I just kind of want to do this to show you what is going on over here with all of the technology that's here and the mixer and the wires. We're going to be getting rid of all of that stuff. I feel like I'm Wizard of the Oz and I just opened up the veil to show everybody what's going on. But we're removing all of that stuff and we're investing in other technology to let people who don't feel comfortable coming into the sanctuary still enjoy the service as it is right now while still having people in the sanctuary with us. Just like our Zoom services 16 months ago, it will not be seamless. There are things that we're going to have to figure out in terms of technology or things that the cantor and I will have to remember, like actually opening up the doors of the ark for Elenu, which we haven't done in 16 months. There are things like that that will be a learning curve, of course, but I want to thank everybody for the patience that they gave us as we transition to this online format and the patience I'm hoping you will give us as well as we move towards a multimedia platform or a hybrid platform. And we're still figuring it all out. And the more questions you ask or the more thoughts that you give us, the easier it is for us to navigate it. So I want to thank everybody for all of the messages they've sent thus far on some of the thoughts. But before we begin our, maybe the last service, God willing, that we do with an empty congregation in front of us, I want to invite everybody to just reflect back on these last 16 months. There are going to be plenty of time as we move forward where we're going to reflect. And by no means do I want to imply that the pandemic is over by any means. It's not. But this is a milestone. So I want to invite everybody as we enter into Shabbat just to reflect back on all of those Shabbat experiences that we have had like this and all that are yet to come.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Ina Horn, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Anshe Emeth Memorial Temple. We are so glad that you have chosen to spend the service with us here tonight. Now let us feel the warmth of Shabbat as we invite Jennifer Altman, John, Maddie, and Jack Hume to lead us in the blessings as they light the Shabbat candles in honor of Maddie's bat mitzvah. Mazel tov to Maddie and the entire family. Shabbat Shalom.
Right, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
We continue on page 20 for the singing of the Chadodi. Lai 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 lai
Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela
Shamor v'zachor l'dibor echad Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha Ki mekor habracha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tehila Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Mikdash melech il melucha Hu mitziim betov hafecha Rachmach shelet b'mechabecha Vehu yachamol aleichem la Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Hinari me'afar kumi Livsi bigdeti fartechami Oyal ben Yishai beit halachmi Karva el nafshi ge'ala Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Hitoreri, hitoreri Ki va'oreh kumi ori Uri, uri, shir daberi Kevod Adonai alai chila Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lo tivoshiv lo tikami Ma tishchachachi Uma tehemi bach yechisu Ani eyamni v'niftar Iralti la Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Vehayu li meshisav shosayich v'rachaku Kol mevayich yasif salayich Elohayich Kimsos chatan al kala Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabela Yamin u'shmol tifrosi v'et Adonai Taritzi ayat
Simcha v'nagila.
Lecha
Dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekabela.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekabela. Oy v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha uvetzola tocherunei am segura borichala borichala. Hey! Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela.
Shabbat Shalom. We continue on page 26 for Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkada v'kadosh meraba.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivrachute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon u'vyom echon. U'v'chayet kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala. U'vizman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehi shmeram amevorach le'alam le'ome omaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishabach v'pa'ar v'romam v'naseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shomer kodesha rehu le'la mincho birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'yama v'yimeru. Amen.
We rise in either body or spirit for the Baruch Hu on page 28.
Lai lai lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai. Lai lai lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Amevorach. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bevaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chokhmah potech sha'arim, u'vitfonah meshane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshek v'choshek mipnei or, ma'avir yom u'mevi layla, u'mavdil ben yom u'vein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid imloch alenu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Amaravir Aravim, Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Am תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נסיע בחוקיך. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת.
ונשמח בדברי
תורתך
ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד.
כי הם
חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה. אהבתך בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו למדת.
אותנו למדת. אותנו למדת.
Shema Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Avad. Shema, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Echad. Shema, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Echad. If you are standing, please be seated.
Yafta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'varim ha'elech asher Anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta b'am בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Mi kamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele, yabai bai bim bim bam,
Yabai bai bim bam, yabai bai bim bim bam, yabai bai bim bam, ay 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 ay, yabai bai bim bam, ay 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 ay, yabai bai bim bam. Ma'alechutecha ra'u vanecha, mokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eli ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai imoch le'olam va'ed. Yabai bai bim bidi bam, yabai bai bim bam, yabai bai bim bidi bam, yabai bai bim bam, ay 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 ay, yabai bai bim bam, ay 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 ay, yabai bai bim bam. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Ashkivenu
Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen.
Amen.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Shalom, L'Shalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen.
Amen. Adonai.
Sfatai tifta, ananana ufi agid, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana Svatai Tiftach. Ananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana Svatai Tiftach. Ananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanura, Yod, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, חיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעלוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, We pray silently now with Tfilat HaLev, the personal and private prayer of the heart, either using the words that are written down in front of you, or more importantly, the words inscribed upon your heart, after which you may be seated if you're still standing.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, והכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, והכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, והכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה
I can't tell you how many times somebody has come into my office with a dilemma in front of them. Okay, so in the last 16 months, maybe not come into my office, but maybe an appointment on Zoom, who has had a dilemma. And Rabbi, I've got this thing that I need to deal with, and I can either do this or I can do that. How do I choose which thing I need to do? Usually then ask a series of questions to further understand what's going on and find that my goal isn't necessarily to tell the individual what they should choose, but rather maybe open up a world of understanding of all the different options out there. Because very rarely in our life do we have a choice between one thing or the other. I'm thinking about this in terms of this week's Torah portion, Shalach Lecha. In this week's Torah portion, Moses sends scouts, 12 scouts from the 12 different tribes, into Eretz Yisrael to go scout it out and to see what they find and what's going on there. If we are promised the land of milk and honey, is that there? Just do a little reconnaissance and let us know what we're dealing with. Not necessarily to determine whether or not we should go in, but just to, I want to know what's there. Go on in and let me know. And the scouts go in and they come back and they all say it is the land flowing with milk and honey, and they're, grapes the size of your head, and it's bountiful, and it's everything we've promised. However, there are these other people in the land, and we felt like grasshoppers to them. And we have some concerns about going in. And Joshua and Caleb speak up. They're two of the 12 scouts, saying, this is the land that God promised us. Have some faith. We will figure it out. But the other scouts said, no, it's too dangerous. We can't go in. If we go in, we die. If we stay out, we live. Binary choice. And fear and panic started to spread amongst the Israelites until the idea of going into Eretz Yisrael was just untenable anymore. It wasn't a possibility. They were stuck with a binary choice that they couldn't see their way out of. It was either this or it was that. And because they couldn't make a good choice based on that premise, if we go into the land of Israel, we're going to die because there are these giants there. And if we stay out, we're going to live. They chose to stay out. It was a false choice. And in truth, the staying out condemned them all. God doesn't let a single Israelite who was alive at that moment, except for Joshua, enter into the land of Israel because they just could not give up a slave mentality. They didn't have faith. So while they thought it was enter the land of Israel and die, stay out and live, the exact opposite was true. They could only see one path in their mind. I think this is the great conundrum of the modern world around us. One of the things that gives me grave concern as I look out at the political and social arena around us is that we seem to be moving more and more towards a world that cannot tolerate or embrace nuance. It has to be this or it has to be that, and you have to summarize it within a 30-second TV time bit, or it does not work at all. For example, take John Oliver's 10-minute rant on Israel, which was filled with inaccuracies and anti-Semitic rants that failed Sharansky's 3 Ds of determining what's anti-Semitic. It had double standard for how to treat Israel, that it demonized Israel, and it delegitimized Israel's right to exist. It's either this or it's that. Yes, Israel needs to figure out what to do with Palestinian citizens in creating a world that is equitable. But the fact that we're not there yet doesn't mean Israel doesn't have a right to exist. In America, we have plenty of social issues that are lacking equality. This month is Pride Month. Why do we have Pride Month? Because we have a long way to go before people who are LGBTQIA+ are safe in this country. But the fact that we haven't reached an equitable world or America for everyone, no one's talking about let's bring down America and start all over again. But when it comes to Israel, there seems to be a black and white binary decision that's being made. And it's remarkable when you think about it that Israel versus Hamas, right now, because of that binary decision, Hamas, a terrorist organization that puts innocent women and children and citizens in the way and right next to rockets, they are seen as the heroes, even though the world has acknowledged them being a terrorist organization and their true purpose is to kill every single Jew. Now, let me be clear. I am not equating Hamas to all Palestinians. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Palestinians are not that. And they deserve every right to self-determine where they're going to live and have equal rights, as does Israel. But in a binary world where you're this or you're that, suddenly David has become Goliath in the world theater. Out of Israel, here's another example of what can happen right when you reject it's either this or it's that. It's a new coalition government with Bennett and Lapid, somebody who's considered far right of Netanyahu and somebody who's a centrist. And somehow they rejected the idea that they couldn't work together and have found a new way forward for Israel that will hopefully bring more equality to all. The Scouts believed that they had a binary choice and they chose poorly. I just want to remind everybody out there that very rarely is life a binary choice. Life is full of fluidity. The gray spectrum has so much color in it that no one is pure good or pure evil. No answer is definitely right or definitely wrong. Never in life has that ever been the case. So why is it the case when we deal with Israel? Why? Want to urge everyone to be proud of being Jewish. Be proud of being a Zionist. I'm a proud Zionist. However, I also believe that Israel has a long way to go before it reaches the Jewish vision and value and ideal of what the world could be. But that doesn't diminish my wanting to support the state of Israel and believing that Medinat Yisrael has the right to defend itself when attacked. But Israel also has the obligation to make sure it creates an equitable world. How do we deal with this? How do we deal with this? I had a 7th grader in my class a high schooler in my class on one of the last Sundays of religious school when we're talking about the Israel-Hamas conflict that was happening in Gaza. Somebody brought up, she said something along the lines of, when George Floyd was killed, I stood side by side with my friend with signs that said Black Lives Matter. And I was there and I stood up and I protested the injustices. But now I go onto my friend's feed and it's nothing but free Palestine and Israel's got to go. How do I deal with that? How do I deal with that? I think there are a couple ways that we can do that. I think it has to deal with embracing the idea that nuance is complicated, but not bad, that we need to embrace nuance and to struggle with it and to explore it and to understand it and be comfortable sharing that nuance with others. And I think it also means that we can't hide the fact that we're Jews or supporters of Israel. We can't hide the fact that this is how we feel. Because if we don't engage with others, then the other side will never be explored. We needed to listen to Joshua and Caleb in the wilderness as they explained other ways of understanding how to deal with Eretz Yisrael. They stood up and they gave a plethora of ways and encouragements and other thoughts that were not binary. They gave a fluidity of understanding of how we should move forward, and yet we ignored it because we were too scared to deal with nuance. Let us not repeat that mistake again. Let us be a beacon of light to all as we share understanding and nuance with a world which seems to be shunning it. In the Talmud, we record every single idea, every single thought, every single dissent and agreement. Our faith is built upon the idea that nuance is important, it's precious, and it's sacred. So let us embrace nuance together and show people there's another way forward. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. 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 Ki ata Melech Ador Lecho Shalom. Ki ata Melech Ador Lecho Shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov v'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. Bechol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom
Shabbat Shalom once again. A big thank you to Barbara Fisherman and, of course, Dave Schlossberg for music tonight and for stepping in for the cantor as he enjoys a much-needed vacation. Just a few announcements before we conclude our services. As always, check out This Week at AEMT for all the programs for this week and all the login information, etc. Even though we're going back to in-person stuff, everything we do is still going to have a Zoom or online component. So nobody can feel like they're missing out on anything, and our congregation will be completely accessible to everyone. When you come next week, if you're coming in person, again, come only if you feel vaccinated. We're going to ask that everybody remember their mask. In order to gain entrance into the sanctuary, you need to have a mask. You'll be doing a temperature check and signing in as you come in. That way, if we do, God forbid, have to do contact tracing, we can do that. You'll be coming in through the front steps of the sanctuary because we want to leave the doors open so we can get greater airflow. Rows will be blocked off so that people will be able to be socially distant. If you need a handicap accessible place to sit for a wheelchair or whatnot, there's a place up in the front on my side. So come into my side if you need a place for a wheelchair. And we're just really excited to see people in person. I might start crying. We are also having our first Shabbat of the year. It will be on a Saturday night as a new thing, a Havdalah Shabbat. It'll still be Shabbat when we start the barbecue. That's why it's still a Shabbat, but we're going to do it on a Saturday night. So if people don't feel comfortable coming into the building for Friday night services, it's not like we're kicking you out or you get to miss services. We'll be doing in the back parking lot where it's nice and open and airy, or on the roof. So you'll be able to be outside. Our first service back in person in 16 months is also the Shabbat for Pride Month. It's our Pride Shabbat service. We'll be welcoming Abby Stein, who has a remarkable story. I want to invite everybody to Google her when the service is over. She comes from a lineage of a Hasidic family, and I want to say no more because she's got a beautiful and remarkable story to share, and I don't want to ruin any of that for you. She'll be giving the sermon Friday night. She'll be teaching Torah Saturday morning, and she'll be talking on Sunday morning about her book, Becoming Eve. All of that should be in the Friday email out to everybody. And lastly, we're going to do Kiddush and Motzi in this Zoom service. And then when we log off, we'll log back onto our Zoom Oneg, which is sponsored by Jennifer Altman and John Hume in honor of Maddie's bat mitzvah, which will be tomorrow morning, and we're very excited about it. I can't wait for there to be people in front of me again. It is so, isn't it odd not having anybody here, Barbara?
Absolutely.
On this Shabbat Eve, as we join together as one congregation to celebrate creation, the joy of life and living, we turn our thoughts to those in our community for whom life has become precarious because of health or hospitalization. O God of healing, we name now those in our hearts that we wish to send more care and concern to. Also be with those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and their families, and may they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu hu yavarech et hacholim refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf hashta'a b'ga'ala v'zman kariv v'nomar amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless those in need of healing. May God swiftly send them the complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we say, Amen.
Mishaberach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov.
Sarah, Rivka,
Rachel,
We continue now on page 282 as we rise neither body or spirit for Elenu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כפי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated. Page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
Ayom ha'hu, Ayom ha'hu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, U'shemo echad, U'shemo
Yesh kokhavim shoram magia arza. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. With hearts that ache and are saddened, we name now those whom death has recently taken from us, those whose families are observing the Shloshim. We remember Roy Snyder, husband of Judith, father of Douglas, Deborah, and David, father-in-law of Jason and Elk. We remember Edward Baldwin, husband of Gail Baldinger, brother of Marion, and father of Eric, brother-in-law to Jack, also father of Julie. We remember Aaron Morash, son of Joan and Vincent, brother of Andrea, brother-in-law to Kevin, uncle of Jacob, Juliet, and Henry. And we remember Gordon Friedman, husband of Millie, father to Jamie, Randy, and Dan, and father-in-law to Orly, grandfather of Sheer and Geffen, and Rebecca and Ashley. On this Shabbat, we also remember those dear ones whose yurtzeit occurs at this period, at this time. If you are here to say Kaddish for a loved one, I invite you to do so as I look out at the camera. Though we may not be able to hear their names, the one who needs to hear them all will hear them all. Sikronam livracha. May all their names and memories only be for a blessing. I invite all the mourners, if able, to rise for Kaddish Yatom Mourners Kaddish on page 294. Yitgadal, Vikadash, Shmei Rabbah, Biamadi Vrachu Te Viamlich Machute, V'chayechon V'yomechon V'chaye de Kol Beit Yisrael, V'agalav Izman Kariv V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Olamei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shmei de Kudashah B'richu, Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechmata, Damiran Bi'alma V'yimru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, Hui Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru, Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved, as we say, Amen. Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen.
We're going to join in on our closing song on page, I believe it's 321 for Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach
Terem kol yitzir nivra, Le'enasa v'chetzo kol, Azai melech shemo nikra, Azai melech shemo nikra, Ve'acharei kidlot hakol, Levado imloch nora, Ve'hu haya ve'hu hoveh, Ve'hu yeh betifara, Ve'hu yeh betifara, Ve'hu echad ve'en sheni, Laham shilo le'akbira, Ve'li reshit ve'li tachlit, Ve'lo ha'oz ve'ha'misra, Ve'lo ha'oz ve'ha'misra, Ve'li ve'chai go'ali, Ve'tzur kevli be'en tzara, Ve'hu nisi umanos li, Menat kol si ve'yom ekra, Menat kol si ve'yom ekra, Ve'hu do'af ki ruchi, Ve'et ishan ve'ayia, Ve'im ruchi kiviyati, Adonai li ve'lo ira, Adonai li ve'lo ira. We rise now and join together with Barbara for Kiddush.
Va'erev va'hi boker yom hashishi, va'echulu hashemayim va'aretz v'god tziva'am, va'echal Elohim b'yom hashvi'i, v'loktor asher asa, va'yishbot b'yom hashvi'i mikom loktor asher asa, va'yevarach Elohim b'yom hashvi'i, v'yikadesh oto, ki vo shabbat mikom loktor asher barach Elohim la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'atzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahav ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tefillah b'mitrei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki v'ara v'chata
אותנו קידשת מכל העמים.
בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
Chaim.
And I'm hoping our bat mitzvah girl is out there somewhere where she can turn on. Up, there she is. Oh, and she went away. And she's back. Maddie, please lead us in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Amen. And Shabbat Shalom. And we'll see you all soon.